to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, where are we at? Board business to begin, are we on the,
We're on TV.
we're live? Just like Memorex.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay. Master plan update. Just a reminder that or a notice that the master plan recommendations section will come out on February 10th, and that'll start a 2-week comment period. Comment form will be on the master plan website along with the recommendations. Let's see, the full draft master plan will come out March about the 10th, and again, there'll be a 2-week comment period on that. Planning board will hopefully open the public hearing on the master plan on April 6th. So you have April 6th and April 20th.
for comments and final consideration of the final draft.
Yeah, of the final master plan.
Okay.
Right. Yep. So that's your schedule on that. It's up to the planning board to adopt the master plan, so it's your vote. And then you can make a report to town meeting and ask for acceptance of your report. So that would be the procedure.
To get it before the vote, to get to be implemented into the towns.
Well, it's the planning board vote that's the important piece.
Okay.
Yep.
I would like to see that, everybody who's not, can we meet as a group at any of these final 2 meetings?
Can board members come? Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And you don't have to post it as a separate planning board meeting, just you're attending a meeting of another board.
Well, if anyone's in town, it would be nice to have you all show up at these things and so we can get a good take on more than just simply what you read out of the paper, out of that.
I think
report.
all the members except for one made the last charrette.
Right,
Yeah.
right. The January 25th, there was.
But there's other discussions we had, like the one at the police department a couple of weeks beforehand. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in that, and there's a lot of nothing that goes on in it also, so I said that out loud too, right?
Yeah, you did.
Some of it's very
So-
good.
Right, so the next steering committee meeting, master plan steering committee meeting is Wednesday, February 15th.
Okay, we good with that?
Yep, I've got 2 funding requests. The first is, I'm asking for the planning board vote on a request for $1,800 of master plan funds for a part-time temporary clerk to help me through through the end of this fiscal year.
Which is June 30, 2017.
Yep, yep. There are several on-call people who would be available. I gave you the email in your packet. Particularly interested in having having Diane help. She seems to be really on top of a lot of things and available to
Diane,
help. It's very good.
Not Diane Crory?
No, this is
With the town clerk.
Okay.
not the town clerk, no. And the backup is, and her rate's about $17 an hour. Backup is to have me do it on overtime, and that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, now, aren't we also asking for $4,500 for something else?
Separate request.
Yep, there will be a.
They're both-
Yep, the separate request. RKG, Judy Barrett, found that they were spending a lot more time working with meetings in Littleton in support of the public forums. They needed to bring in more consultants to help with those, more bodies than they expected. So the request is to additional $4,500 to support the continuation of the public meetings.
So that's going to be over and above what our original contract for
Yep. $150,000 with the original contract. This is $4,500 increase requested. And that should take us through the end of the contract.
So in reality, you're looking for 58,
They come out of 2 different
63.
funding sources, so you gotta vote on them separately, right?
Well,
You're looking for
you could vote on
$6,300
separately
more.
together, doesn't matter. There were $213,000 was appropriated by town meeting for master plan altogether.
So we're under the grand number, but we're going over
Absolutely.
what they agreed to do the job for.
Because the steering committees has been working, you know,
All right, well, so I need some form of a,
I'll make a motion to approve the 1,800 for the administrative assistant through the fiscal year, June 30th this year.
Second.
have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Feisty tonight, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second one?
I'll make a motion that we approve 4,500 for the master plan funding, already agreed to by PJ Avail, the chairman of the master plan steering committee, and Judy Barrett.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. I'll vote. What do I hear?
Aye.
Aye.
No again. I think they have a contract, and they should honor it. So, I'm a no.
okay, thank you. Bills and payroll, I'll send those around.
Can we start earlier than 6:30? How about like 5:30?
What time would you like to start, Tom? Ladies and gentlemen?
No, 6:30 is fine.
Okay, there are two sets of bills. One is master plan and the other is planning board. That's the RPT agreement for your signature.
I have to sign it, huh? Even though
Or
I
you
disagree with
can
it?
ask Vice Chairman to sign it.
How could I get it?
I know.
What's today's
This is what
date?
you've been missing.
Second.
2-2.
Sit in the sun, work on my pan, come up with this.
That's enough of that. You want the other one signed also, both? Or is this just a copy? But
Oh, sure. Thank you. Under construction updates, we don't have any new construction inspection reports from any of the subdivisions. Things are a little bit slow this time of year. I heard that Bennett Orchard, the Sanderson development, has started to work on their drainage, so I expect an inspection report either this week or next. I don't have one for you to review now. But what I do have is a project update from Sue Carter for the fire station. Right into ledge, and are looking for a red line field change in some of the drainage. Sue sent a letter describing, you know, the need for the change and plans showing what the change is. They're looking to not install the underground recharge units that would have recharged some of the roof runoff.
I'm sorry, what's the address of that one?
20 Foster Street, the fire station.
And your suggestion for this is?
To allow the change as requested as a red line field, or a field change.
I don't see a problem with it. Anyone else?
Green had a look at it.
Yeah, has Green looked at it?
Well, Green didn't do a review in the first place.
Sorry, we're trying to keep that out of it, right?
What is,
Well,
And actually, Sue will be here later in the evening for another project. If you have questions, you want to hold it till she gets here.
so is conservation.
Sue Carter, she's an engineer that presented,
Places Associates, this one.
yeah. She presented the fire station.
Did I read this one already? Okay. We'll question her when she
Thank you.
gets here then. So how do they propose to recharge this ground if we got that much ledge?
So do you want to check with her when she comes
Yeah,
in later in
I
the
think-
evening?
What's
Okay.
their,
That's easy.
sorry, I heard most of what you were saying, but it's basically they're running into ledge and they're having a trouble. So if there's ledge, how are they gonna recharge the runoff?
Well, they're not. They're proposing to pipe it instead of recharge on site.
Okay, oh, to where, okay?
It's in a municipal system out in front.
Yeah.
It's a municipal building, probably shouldn't be a big deal.
All right,
Come on, you're doing good.
Yep, annual report, I sent you the draft planning board annual report. I don't know if you had any corrections, additions, changes, suggestions.
well, it seems like we're relatively busy.
You make it look that way, anyway.
I don't have a problem with it, does anyone else?
No, accept the report when you finish the draft. Accept it.
Is that correct?
And I'll file that with, yeah, for publication in the annual report, in the town report.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see, town bylaws, zoning bylaw reviews. Some towns are working on temporary moratoria on retail sales of recreational marijuana. Harvard came to mind again when Harvard sent me their notice that they're working on a marijuana moratorium. What a moratorium does, well, we did the same thing several years ago on medical marijuana, just provided for a temporary moratorium to allow the town time to plan for what recreational marijuana sales might look like in Littleton.
And what this moratorium is mainly on the sales, not on the growing portion of it that is
Not on, has
being
nothing to
proposed.
do with medical marijuana. This would only be on the recreational retail sales. Or you can limit it as much or as little as you want for a moratorium, but
The length of time, you mean?
the length
what
of
it
time
entails.
or exactly what the moratorium is on. So it wouldn't, we already allow medical marijuana facilities up to one in town. The question is whether you'd want to put a temporary moratorium on the recreational retail sales.
We don't really have anything on it yet, do we?
No. And this is based on the new state law was just delayed another 6 months.
So we can't make a decision on that the state doesn't have made a decision on yet, correct?
Well, state voters have made a decision on it, and the state is delaying their regulations. So it's probably, it would be my recommendation to
Makes
do a
sense to me.
temporary moratorium until at least we see what the state regulations are going to be.
Well, if they voted on this, well, geez, as fast as they voted on their pay raise, would have it in the morning, wouldn't we? Yeah,
Yep. And in
give
your.
it a shot.
Right. In your meeting packets, Chris Heap had sent the standard one that he's working with
All right.
with
So
several
when we
other
see that, when we
towns.
get it, and it's ours.
The question is whether we want to go forward with it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it makes sense. 1 second, sir.
I think so. I think until the state gets their act together, how can we get our act
Right,
together?
we can make decisions, they're gonna turn around and overrule, correct? As far as the sales and where. All right, so, sir, you had a question?
Bill Brown, 7 Old Orchard Lane, on this on this recreational marijuana. Yeah, I think it would be good to have a moratorium until things settle out in the other towns and the state. It sounds like this is your recommendation to the town meeting, is going to have a discussion about this, right?
More than likely, I mean, if it's posted there for a hearing to be done, then this is a good forum for it, is that correct?
Right, the process would be that we'll ask town council for a detailed recommendation for Littleton, and then
We'll sponsor
you'll,
it.
right, you'll do it as a zoning bylaw, and then town meeting would vote on it.
Okay. All right.
Well, do we want to support that?
I see, well, do we need a vote on that, is what you're looking for?
Just looking for your recommendation,
And
or
I-
your direction on
Yeah,
what to
I
do.
think we should support a moratorium.
We should move forward on
Okay.
it. Yes, I agree.
I say give the voters what they want.
But we don't know what they want. We don't know.
We know what the voters want, we just
Well,
don't know what the
yeah.
legislation is.
Yeah, but that'll change when they start riding in the streets again, so it's not a big deal. It's always something.
All right, thank you.
Now, where do we stand? We on time for,
We are.
You're right on time.
On time.
all right? The Cooper Farm Estates Development Definitive Open Space Subdivision and Special Permit over 55 Development Special Permit Shared Residential Driveway Special Permit.
Do I need to read the,
Is it,
Again, because you're reopening the continued, thank
so
you.
we need to read it again?
no.
So, do I make a motion to open this meeting? It's just,
Open.
it's open. Before we start, I'd like everyone to know that Matt Field is my brother-in-law, married to my sister. Do the Fields have any problem with me hearing anything on this? No. I've spoken with the Attorney General a few weeks ago and a few months ago at the onset, knowing that they were going to be coming before this board. The Attorney General has decided that professed to me that it isn't an issue. It is not an issue for me to hear any of this. It's up to me whether or not I feel I can make a fair and impartial judgment on these people. I believe I can. However, there's a few people that do not. And although they don't know me, they don't know my integrity or my honesty, I want you to know that I do the best thing I possibly can for the town. Whether I like it or not, my decisions have always been, and I charge anybody to find anything that I've said, done before on this board that would be detrimental to the town. Their actions are very disappointing. It's probably the neatest way I could put it. But to not have this project go through, or have it go through and then give some way for someone to deny them their permits or anything else because my decision was on it, and try and appeal the decisions that were made by this board, and I have all the faith in this board to do what's the right thing to do, I will recuse myself from these proceedings. And I feel that I believe they've weakened the town's position on this, but that's my opinion. So as the vice chairman, well, I'll take over and I'll sit out back and enjoy the view.
You don't have to go too far. We no
Thank you.
longer have a quorum
Or-
to vote, so.
You're not
we're
voting
gonna-
anything tonight anyway.
Well,
voting on the.
Wait, it doesn't, right,
we don't have,
you,
But you're not gonna vote
there's
on
no,
anything until you have.
there's no
every-
possibility of continuing with only 3.
right, so Rich Crowley will be here tonight. He's just running late, so we can postpone until he arrives.
Okay, let's postpone.
We'll do that.
Continue until he arrives?
No.
Actually, he stood up and said.
We're gonna,
I want to address Peter's thing. We've all
Go ahead,
been with
please.
Peter for 6 years. He's done an admirable job being on the board. He's handled all the issues that we've had. I don't think Peter should step off the board. I don't think it's an issue. I think he's been more than upfront about it. And I think it's a detriment to going forward with this process by not having him on the board. I'd like to ask Peter to come back on the board. He's handled it, he's been upfront about it, and I don't see any reason why he shouldn't still stay on it. I just want to know what you guys think.
all right, so,
I mean,
Personal opinion, Peter is very straightforward and is going to tell you what he thinks, and I think that that's a big asset to the discussion. While I can understand some of the folks' concerns, it's been very few that have come forward with that. The developers themselves don't have an issue with it. So,
I think I understand what Peter's doing. He wants to take every vestige of every
Absolutely.
chance of an appeal and everything out of it, but I don't think that's the right way to approach it. I think he's been more than straightforward with it. He's been an asset to the process, and I'd rather him stay on than see him have to step off.
so my opinion would definitely support what you two have said. On top of that, I would say Peter Scott has a lot of things, but on top of that, mostly he is honest. And he is,
He's made us all aware that he's related to he has no financial interest in it. Peter, I'd rather you came back on the board. I understand why you're not.
I just feel that in the long run, that it'll only give fuel to somebody that has an opinion about it. If they don't get, there's a group of residents, radicals for a new Littleton or something along that line. I just don't want.
I know why you're
They
doing that,
spent
and I
enough money.
commend you for it.
I feel as if the entire project in the beginning has been handled wrong in many respects, but we're here, and now we gotta do the best we can for the town, and I believe that you three with Richie will do a great job.
I hear where you're coming from, and I respect you for it, I just think I'm upset that we have to do that, to be
Me
perfectly
too.
honest.
But thank you, I appreciate your words.
So
I think we should
with Peter's
postpone
decision,
it
we'll
till,
postpone it till Richie arrives, which
Okay.
I spoke to him earlier today, and he thought he could be here somewhere between 7:30 and
Yep.
7:45, so if you,
Excellent.
if the folks don't mind,
You don't mind?
we do not mind. We'll sit, and we don't have another discussion until 7:15, so we can, anybody bring Connect 4, Tiddlywinks? Peter, you can come back up, because we postponed the hearing, so.
I was out for a little while. Feels like the mafia. You're out, suck your back in. Thank you, appreciate it.
you know, I know why you're doing it,
Why don't you ask
it's
her-
unfortunate that you have to even consider doing this, but it's,
Oh, you're doing
it's
it?
for the whole. Can't hit mute.
There you go.
Which one is it? All right, so, if we're, what's the next one? How long do we
Wellington
have?
Drive, but they're not on until 7:15, so.
Who's next? All right.
Folks, if you want to run and grab a
Board-
cup of coffee before we get started again.
Board stuff we need to, hey, was that that was the man with the golden gun picture? The picture you had up first, from the movie, the guy with the golden,
Oh.
James Bond movie.
Yeah, that's, it's just Microsoft puts, there's like a dozen pictures every time I open
That's
my
the-
computer. Yeah,
Man with the golden gun.
Yeah.
See that? It's a
they have that
little
one, they have another one, it's like a gloomy day. It's like kinda dark. That one's cool
Can I
too.
see the paper for a sec?
I have a house in the market, it's number one.
So you want to officially break for a while? or?
Can I ask a question? We're off the record. We can be on the record too, I don't really care. I'm just curious. The marijuana issue is an interesting one, and as you may or may not know, we're from Colorado. So Colorado is a home rule state, which means the cities and counties can pick and choose whether they want to comply and allow dispensaries. I gather Massachusetts is not that way. So you're obligated.
We don't know what Massachusetts is going to be yet, because they haven't made a determination.
Okay. So the moratorium, what are the limits on the length of time, for example, if Littleton wanted a moratorium, how long could it be? 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10
Right.
years?
I wouldn't,
the-
so I wouldn't support anything longer than when the state makes a ruling, which I think they said they were going to try to do it within an 8-month period.
Right, and actually, West Bridgewater, town of West Bridgewater
Don't like it.
was just approved a moratorium that lasts no longer than August of 2018. And the Attorney General's office approved that length of time.
So every city, every town has to have X, whatever X is, and I'm just trying to figure out what X is.
Right, so I think what X is we want to zone an area where it can occur in town for the sales.
I think they're trying to make.
I know we've done some of that, but it's for the medical side. So we want to set the moratorium, find out what the state regulations are going to be, and then try to work within those and with the zoning.
Thank you.
So how do you get on that?
So I have,
I'm trying to get it.
so I have, I keep a file of zoning amendments to consider at some time when we have time to chat. So one of them is the wireless telecommunications bylaw and the so-called shot clock that we have now.
Shot clock?
Shot clock. That was the Federal Middle Class Tax Relief Act and Job Creation Act of 2012. It limited on certain co-locators and updates of existing sites It limited your ability to act to, you have to either approve it, well, pretty much you have to approve it. For, if they're extending the tower no more than 10%, and if they're doing the work within the existing compound, and if they're just swapping out equipment, not increasing the number of antennas. So I didn't know if you wanted to try to update the bylaw to match that, or the way we've been doing it is, building department first does their review of the building permit application, and if the special permit is out of date or doesn't include the same number of antennas or other appurtenances on the tower, then at that point, it comes to the planning board.
We've been pretty good with the renewals and what we're putting up there, all the new technology. Why reinvent the wheel? We got a pretty good, actually pretty good bylaw in there.
Yeah, and it has been workable with the new federal regulations, right, with the shot clock, where you're, there's a certain time period that you're allowed. They do kind of work together, it's just some towns have gone ahead and updated their local bylaws to better match the federal law.
Do we catch all the renewals as they come in? I mean, we're not,
Yeah,
and that's kind of what the upgrading does. When every time they come, we make sure their leases are in order and they're paid the fees and everything else like that, or they don't get
Yeah.
the
Paying the
renewals.
permit fees and everything else. It's not a burden on the building department, so when they do the work, they're not getting overrun.
no.
Any idea how much we've collected?
I can ask again, I don't know.
Did we tie any of that into inflation?
No, none of the stuff, all the leases are.
The leases have increased factors every year, yeah.
Any other amendments you got on there?
Those are I was very happy I found this file. It's like, okay, I have a
Yeah, no,
list.
that's worked pretty good, and nobody's threatened to sue us anymore.
Oh, they have, but then they come anyway.
Then they come anyway, right.
That's always the conversation when they call.
It's
Do I really
easier for
have to
them to
come
work
in?
with us than to hire a lawyer anyway.
Yeah.
No, we've done pretty well with that one, we've made billions with that.
So I imagine that you'll be seeing another one next month.
Another what?
A co-locator at the 519 Great Road, the water department site.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who's that gonna be?
Off the top of my head, I don't
T-Mobile or something.
Please hear
remember.
me now.
Yeah, one of them.
I
One
thought
of
they
the
went out of
late
business. Didn't T-Mobile go out?
ones. No, T-Mobile's still around. Yeah, they
Thought one went
piggyback
out
on
of
top of
business.
everybody. No, T-Mobile's still around.
Went out of business.
Virgin's the one that went out of business. Remember Virgin Mobile? Yeah, you don't even hear from them anymore.
That's true.
Yeah. Not too many virgins left now. Nice. I'm for that.
I didn't say anything.
So our schedule is the 2nd of March.
Actually, there's another meeting, February 16th,
Need to be
2
at that
weeks. You have Alumni Field is coming in for their Water Resource District special
Gotta be there for
permits.
that.
We need a majority.
You need at least 4 positive votes
You're trying to
for the
remember.
Water Resource District special permit. And then 307 Harwood Avenue, single driveways coming in for a scenic road. And then scheduled an informal discussion with a new tenant at One Distribution Center Circle. They're looking to do a fueling facility, diesel fueling facility for their leased vehicles at that site. I think they have where Verizon was most recently in that
Way out
building.
back.
They haven't, by the time we get to the 16th, we'll have a sketch before that meeting, but I suggested an informal discussion with you first, just so you can
That's in
give
the
them
what?
feedback.
Water resources.
Water resources, it's not the more restrictive aquifer district, but it is water resource. Yeah.
So it's a glorified gas station.
Well,
The diesel.
and
It's
they,
gonna be an elevated.
they would
tank.
have, I don't have any of that information yet, but I've asked for it in time to put it in your meeting packets for the meeting on the
And what
6th.
not
time,
for
what
any-
time are we gonna have that meeting, at 7?
If we start at, I've got the first hearing opening at 7, and then the second one at 8, so
We start at 7.
we start at 7, that works.
The one for the sports facility is basically looking for
It's site plan review and water resource district special permit.
Yeah,
Are you gonna do it all in one night?
Yeah, well,
yes.
So I have to fly out. I have to be available for that.
Unless you can view this stuff early, is it possible to have his
No, we don't do
signature
that.
signed and?
Gotta be here.
nope, it's gotta be here to vote on it.
What happened to us doing that thing over the airwaves?
Internet,
Town did not adopt.
No?
No.
I can
You
look
could
at
have
it.
done this from Florida. If they had adopted that you were allowed to sit
Wasn't
down.
me.
What do they call it when you sit in front of that thing and look at each other?
Telemark.
Video teleconference.
There you go.
Right, but it's very hard
Right.
for whoever's off-site to see the plans that are being presented
I
to
can
you.
wing it.
Why don't we get one of them hologram things, you know?
Beam them in.
You ever see that? Anyone ever gone through the airport and seen one of those things? You know, real life? Those are pretty cool.
What are you talking about?
They have a hologram of some sort. You walk up to it and it looks like there's a person standing there.
Peter, it is a real person, don't worry about it.
Well, when I poked her, she didn't giggle. Oh, man, I must have been in that marijuana stuff. No, but I'm serious. Have you ever seen one? They're pretty neat. They're pretty cool. Jeez, they don't follow very well. I tried to dance with the girl. Didn't go over well.
Are you sure you weren't at the casino down there in Plnbrd? Because they have virtual reality people there. I've been told. I don't know for that, but I've been told.
I don't want to go there.
No, then don't go there. It's-
I've been to Foxwoods once. I gave away the last $10 to somebody so I didn't have to play anymore. And then I was in Las Vegas twice, and I think I won $50 and gave 20 back. So I just don't like it. It doesn't do anything for me.
Well, thank you for that.
So no more holograms, just at the airport.
Okay. Well, I was there today and I didn't see any holograms.
Well,
No, didn't see anything.
how's everyone's week going? Anybody got anything fun planned for the weekend?
There's a football game this weekend.
Oh, it's Sunday? Nice. Anyone else?
Party at your house?
You helped me clean the basement. We're all there.
Thought you were going to Vermont.
I'm going to Maine next weekend, snowmobiling this weekend, and actually I should probably go up to Vermont for a night or two, but. Well, that's it, huh? How about you?
Me what?
You having any fun this weekend, or a Super Bowl game?
Shoot anything or?
Yeah. Going hunting?
Hunting season's over.
It's never over. It's not over till we say it's over.
Just coyotes, that's all that's left.
Coyotes? You can count them many times, can't you?
Pardon? Yeah.
They put a limit on how many you can kill though.
Where? I don't think so.
How can you shoot them with bazookas?
No.
Anything you want. No, actually,
Depends on the time you're hunting. Usually night hunt them. So a night hunting, you can hunt them with a rifle caliber 22 or smaller.
it goes back to his mother
Or
tomorrow.
38 special or smaller with a handgun. Or BB++ for a shotgun.
I have I had one in my backyard. Thought it was a freaking German Shepherd.
Wow.
Ratty looking thing. I was looking at me and I don't think that's a German Shepherd.
Lunch?
Yeah, because I have deer back there. They've been living there for like 10, 12 years. So there was,
Yeah, they travel right along there up to Ross's and back again. It's not, well, they're going a little further, but we're always seeing them there.
no.
Jamie, anything going on with the Farm Bureau?
I retire next week.
Do you really? It's one thing off your plate.
You retire? Too young to retire.
From the National Committee in DC. Sad.
How about you? What are you doing this weekend?
I think I'll probably watch a football game.
What's your prediction?
Oh, what's my prediction? I don't know. What's the line?
The line is goal line?
Is it 3 points, 4 points?
No, so over-under is 58 points last year.
Ooh, that's a lot of points.
It's the highest ever.
I think it'll be under that.
I do too. I don't think it'll be 58 points.
But I think the Patriots are favored by 3. Is that right?
I think they are.
What do you think? What's your prediction?
Hoping for the Patriots.
Hoping.
It's gonna be a tight game, I think.
I believe so too.
It's no
Defense wins championships. The
It
best
is.
defense is going to win this game, regardless of.
It's no fun when it's not a good game.
I like defense. Well,
At this point, with all that's happened, I hope for it's a big blowout and I can relax through the whole thing and just watch the end. I just want to see the trophy ceremony. I am praying for that.
Oh, so that Goodell can give it to him?
Or Brady can give it to him.
I think Tom should let his father take it from Goodell. That would be more fun.
So, it usually goes to the owner.
Well, it'll get handed down,
Right. Then it gets handed down.
whatever.
Answer a question.
Sure.
Go out of order.
I'm sorry?
Go out of order, because this
Yeah,
gentleman looks like he's ready to present something.
He is, but we gotta wait till his time that he's
You gotta wait
posted.
for the other one?
Yes, well, no, not till they present. We have to wait for,
He's posted to
time
be offered at
posted.
7:15.
Oh, because other people may show up
Yeah.
that's interested in that.
Doubtful, but they might. You going to Crossroads later or no? No? You? Or you blew us off last time? Probably again this time, so I'm not gonna count on you. I'll go home. Jet lag. Wow, what the
I
hell?
heard you were out partying this weekend.
How about partying this weekend? I was out and about, yes. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, out boating.
You had to come back to the real world.
Yeah,
Welcome to this.
today. Now you want me to come back on the 16th, so I'm going back down on the 8th. You want me to come back a week later?
Rough. So rough.
$400 each time I go.
You have enough miles now.
Is there a budget? Do I get?
You should have put it in the request, the appropriation request. Fly Mark back and forth.
That didn't go over very well.
You had to schedule it.
Yes, I did, as a matter of fact.
It doesn't even sound like it's worth coming back for. The ball field's the only thing it's worth coming back for. What time is that on?
That one's at 7.
If I gotta go, I have to go look at the tickets.
I saw that you liked it.
It's minimum of $400 there and back.
I don't know, I saw your name
Can't
come
get
up.
anything cheaper than that.
So your house down there is all put together, though.
16th is a what, Thursday?
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday. Can I miss the second then? If I
Down here.
Didn't we
That's
talk
from,
about how sensitive these microphones are?
remember Roland Martin's laughing? The guy sitting there.
March 2nd, you have the master plan update. The steering committee's going to come in and give you a,
Which is more important? If you could choose one of them, which one would you want me to come to?
Both.
Well, wait a second.
yes, that would have been my answer.
I thought it was a short timer.
Yeah, it's just, that's how busy it's been, yes.
All right, I'll see what I can do. I'm real thrilled about it.
Hey, I did it for you, because I knew you wouldn't.
27 years to remember Marin. Marvin?
Man.
8. MacGyver used to have to look at his name tag all the time. You have to turn around and see who he was, so he'd forget his name.
It's not MacGyver.
What is it?
Oh, I guess it is MacGyver. I was thinking MacGyver, the guy on TV.
Yeah, you taking a break
We're taking a break? We
Sure.
take a break.
until 7:15?
7:15, we'll be back.
Welcome back. Where are we now? Our 7:15?
7:15, you've got the Wellington Drive subdivision. Let's see, in your meeting packet, you have a draft vote that has red and
Red line.
should be item number 3.
Yep.
So if you remember, back in, April, you approved definitive subdivision for Wellington Drive. Over the last several meetings, you've hammered out some design details that are outlined in this draft decision. I'm just asking for your vote on those details.
Okay, I did read all of these. I remember that we wanted to have a two-space parking space for it, that's in this. The walking trail connecting, which is a 6-foot, did we agree to the 6-foot thing?
6 foot from,
The corner, from the cul-de-sac?
no, this is all 5 foot down to here, 6 foot from there.
I thought we said 6 foot from the circle. Does anyone else recall?
It was 5 foot through the narrow part because the land area is not
Okay, all
available.
right, good,
And then 6 foot from there
all right.
to here somewhere.
Connecting up with whatever, however the Cooper
With
property,
Cooper.
all right?
Right.
There's something on another thing that occurred about a shared driveways and the upkeep of it and such as this.
Oh, yeah, that's all, that you gotta have all that information.
I,
Homeowners Association, but I think they might do it under condo. You need all that.
I'd like to know, who, in writing, who's gonna be responsible for the sanding, the plowing, all of that before this, all right?
Yes.
And, it's the number 20, I'm jumping way ahead, it's the ones that I read that I felt there was an issue with. The road will remain in private perpetuity unless it's brought to current subdivision roadway standards prior to a town vote to accept the roadway as a town way. And, well, I say it, if it ever gets to that point where it's needed to be brought up to current town standards, it will have no relief from what we have on our regs now, which will mean granite curbing from A to B and C, D, and F, okay? So if this ever,
So that's gotta be in this document.
I think if you're not gonna build it to our current standards right now, and in the chances of it becoming town property at some point in time, I want it to the letter of our,
You want to put in there that there'll be no waivers asked for
Right.
when it
That-
comes before town meeting.
that's how I feel about it, personally, all right? Once again, doing what I believe is the right thing for the town in the long term, okay? It's kind of the way I think. All right, anyone,
I'd support that in the document as well.
okay?
Yeah.
Now, as far as any of the other, 1 through 6, does anybody want to weigh in on this, on the HDPE pipes?
Jimmy did. Jimmy likes to.
Can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
That was, as far as I understood, it was agreed upon as long as it is reviewed at the time of installation by somebody nominated from the town, like Green International,
At your expense.
at client's expense. And as it says, which it says here, designated consultant from the town planner.
Okay, because there were
Actually,
multiple,
let's change that to the planning board.
Okay.
We don't have a town planner.
Okay.
okay,
So we do need to see the shared driveway documents that show
who's responsible?
who's responsible
Sure.
and all that, how it's gonna be divvied out, and all the easements need to be on it
All
before.
the easements, the septic system, all that has to be included in there.
Right,
Before we
and so,
endorse it.
right, so the next thing they'll do, Ian will update the Mylars and ask for your endorsement, and before you endorse them, you'll have the covenant ready, which means that you'll have all the
Information, right.
information. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
No, I went through this before the meeting as well. I actually read it the day we got the packets.
No, I'm
Nice
good.
to get the packets.
Thank
so
you.
early.
I will
Okay.
try.
I vote in favor for
I
it.
get to read all of them.
Even though I voted against this, I'll vote in favor for Rich, and you need for votes.
With that being said, we have, a motion needs to be made.
Yep.
I'll entertain that.
Make a motion to accept the revisions that were added to the document for Wellington Drive subdivision, subject to when the Mylar is presented, that the, what was the term you just used?
I'll-
Covenant
Covenant.
documents are established.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just to make sure that in that motion, I wanted to support the recommendation that Peter made, that if this road ever comes before the town, that it's brought, no waivers will be granted. It'll be to town standards.
That being the decision.
Okay, yeah.
So do we have a date, or?
Whenever you're ready with the Mylars.
How about February 16th? I got nothing to do.
Can't get it on until even posted in the paper.
I'm
Or
Can we get it?
Let's see if we can make it by February 16th, just gotta
I
get
was
it covered.
kidding.
just on the agenda. It's not a hearing at that point.
Okay. Put them on the agenda.
Just
We'll take care
sign.
of it.
All right.
Okay.
Make it worthwhile for me to come
Nick,
back.
the way your agreement for the sharing of the property, of the driveway, the road, and all the other stuff, is that something that we ought to have Heath take a quick look at? The
We have
attorney?
boilerplate. should
Yeah, we
probably
have
say-
boilerplate for it. We could, it's up to you.
Only as, I mean, if you feel that what he proposes is right up to standard, fine, but if there's anything that looks out of ordinary, then we'll,
Probably ask Myron to send you over the boilerplate of what we've done
It'll
in
be
the
good,
past.
something to start with. Yeah.
Right.
Because they've already, Keith's already,
and again, if it requires it, it just doesn't look, then
Yeah.
it'll be viewed by the attorney at your expense.
Yeah,
Okay?
understood.
All right, thank you.
yeah, if he can send it over, we can go back and forth.
All right.
Not the easiest. Okay, cool.
We good?
Thank
Well,
you.
good luck.
See you.
Very easy.
All right, that one's still continued, right? That one's gone. I wanna see that thing about that.
Nothing about that,
Oh, we're ahead of schedule. Can we put everybody on like 7:30? And then as we dispense them, you know?
You could. Do you really want the applicants paying their engineers and attorneys to sit here and wait for you?
They're gonna pay 'em
Half the
anyway.
night?
It's not like they're paying them the second they walk in here, they're paying them all day.
Yeah.
They get travel time.
Yeah, there's
everything
several
I
ways,
think-
right, there's several ways to look at it.
I think we could get a cut
Yeah, if,
to open space, to recreational facilities. Maybe not.
Russ, how are you tonight?
Pretty good.
Bring on the clowns, the jokers and the fools. I had the time of my life, and I never had time to come forward.
Come on. They are coming.
Is, once again, without Richie here, it's a,
You need all four votes.
well,
that's all.
7:30, we can't start that. I mean, they could do this one with 4.
Yeah.
The
well, all right, well, at 7:30, we have the,
Meeting House Road.
okay. Do I need to read anything for this?
Jamie has the hearing notice, yeah.
Not quite 6:30? You can read before 6:30?
Yeah, we gotta wait.
Well, this is the little house on the common.
Near the prairie.
Wow.
I was very excited when they came in to talk.
Now we're gonna do something with it?
Well, it felt like deja vu.
Up to you.
What are you, puffing up on it?
No, no.
Sorry.
Pretty straightforward. Yeah.
So it doesn't go away.
Went away.
What'd you touch?
I didn't touch anything, you handed it to me.
Oh, man, we were talking about zoning, I was gonna recommend recreational marijuana be sold out of this facility.
There you go.
But been a great place for recreational marijuana facility. Common. You know,
Get your
everybody be
pills at
watching.
CVS and
Get your fun stuff over there.
You really got a non-conformity, you can't put a second floor on a non-conforming house, it's too close to the lot
You
line
can
as far
put a
as.
second floor, and you just kind of put it into the setback.
Right, yeah, that's been a discussion, whether increase in height is an increase in the nonconformity. But to me, if you look at somebody standing next to you that's 5 feet tall, or look at somebody standing next to you 7 feet tall, that's a big difference. That was my visual for it.
I don't know, you stand next to a guy 5 feet tall with size 12 feet. Stand next to a guy that's 12 feet tall with size 12 feet. You know, his feet haven't gotten any closer to you. Right? I don't know.
But certainly it's much more overbearing for somebody that's that much taller.
And that is the way they're interpreting all of this?
You could probably start, right?
ZBA or special permit. Get a variance, get a special permit.
In Massachusetts, there's always another process another application you can make.
Some more attorney to hire to fight something else, and lose more money.
At least they know they're within the rules.
And you've been in Florida. Been down here on the 16th, 17th, whatever. JetBlue, right into Sarasota.
All right, well, we have our next meeting starts at 7:30. If you don't mind, even though it seemed to be ahead of the curve, we'd
Start the reading.
we'd start the reading of the year.
The Town of Littleton Planning Board will hold a hearing on Thursday, February 2nd, 2017, at 7:30 PM in Room 103 at Town Hall, 37 Shattuck Street, to consider the application for special permits pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A and the Code of the Town of Littleton zoning. The application is for the Water Resource District, special permits under Sections 173-61 through 173-64 of the Code of the Town of Littleton zoning. Property location is 6 Meeting House Road, map U-7, parcel 9. Applicant is Jim Bill Realty Trust. The applicant is seeking Water Resource District special permits to allow site work and a change of use of the existing building to office use. Application and plans can be viewed at the Planning Board and Town Clerk's office during their business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed plan should appear at the time and place designated or provide comment to m2hill@littletonma.org or P.O. Box 1305, Littleton, Mass. 01460.
Thank you. All right, so we have a public hearing that's open. Do we have the applicant for us?
My name's Russ Wilson, working for Jim Butterworth and his partner Mike Donovan, who owns 6 Meeting House. A little history on it is we did a septic system there about 10 years ago that got approved by the Board of Health and was put in the ground. We did an as-built. And they got a certificate of compliance for it. And at the time, he was looking to change it from a 2-bedroom house to a office use. And I really don't know what happened between the time that we put that septic system in and today, when he came to my office and wanted to pursue it. So here I am. It's basically what he's looking for is to change it to office use from residential. I think you all know where the property is, and I think it's probably the only residential building mixed in with all the business use around it. So, yeah, looking for your opinion and guidance.
You're gonna be coming in off the old CBS entranceway, right?
Yeah.
Is there parking on the site now more than just a vehicle or two for an office?
I've got 5 parking spots. Take down on the site. And take back, it's gonna have its own driveway.
Oh, it's not gonna come in off the CVS?
No.
Yeah, that's the same plans that's in your packets. You have the small version in your
I
packet.
don't think I got it.
This thing like it's up, it's almost like it's got a moat around it, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's a detention basin for the parking behind there. It wraps right around that lot.
So you're proposing an access onto King Street?
No, the meeting I was saying, I had this.
No, but if you look at proposed access and drive parking, you're at 5 spaces and it's going on to King.
Right, well, that's the existing
That's the
driveway?
existing driveway
Yeah,
proposed.
and actually the photo's up on the screen.
5 cars.
Where is this parking spot gonna be on this? Because I can't tell. Where's the parking?
There's a circle that says 2, and that's 2 spots. And there's another circle that says 3, and there's 3 spots there.
1, 2, 3.
And also, I put a parking spot at the end of the existing paved driveway they have that comes off of Meeting House Road. So I got a total of 6, and they only need 5, I believe.
But this is the whole block, right? Or is this?
It's a tight, small lot, there's not a lot
Right.
there.
The total lot is 6,700 square feet,
Yes.
and how much of it is rendered impervious now?
I believe it's about 58%.
And are you proposing to change that amount?
Yes.
Are you going to increase or decrease the amount?
No, I neglected to include the paved driveway that comes in off of Meeting House, brings it up to 58.
It's already there though, right?
Yeah.
And what about the proposed 2 in the,
I'm
on
not
the
making
King?
any changes, the pavement's already there.
So it's already 58, it's not
Yeah.
going any higher, any lower.
It's just a matter of cleaning it up and putting some stripes down for pockets.
It's a small,
How do you get from coming in off of King Street back to the one where the former garage was, to the 3 that's on the leaching field, and to the 2 that's in front under the,
Right, the 2 different elevations, can you not come off of Meeting House Road and drive through and come out onto King Street? Is it?
You could do that, but you would lose parking spots if you did that.
So, so if we're gonna change this to office, fire department access, if we're gonna,
fire department's gonna have access on the 3 sides and the main
Yeah.
road, it really
you
doesn't.
take a garden hose, hit one side or the other,
Yeah.
6,700 square feet.
It's not an
Your
awful
house is
lot
bigger than
to worry about coming in off of King Street.
Yeah,
Making
the
the
fire
best of a bad
department
situation.
did reply that they had no comments on this side.
You're making the best of a bad situation. Be nice to have something in there after.
no, I agree.
20
I just wanna
years.
make sure that all the departments have taken a look at it and are satisfied.
Yeah, I did send it out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And are you gonna do some form of landscaping there, because it's kind of overgrown over the last 10 or 12 years, and it looks like hell,
Take most of it out, I would say.
and make it look nice?
Absolutely. Yeah, but-
My name is Victor Norman. I'm a real estate broker, and I've been hired by the owners to market the property. And obviously they need the zone change to do that, and the highest and best use clearly is office use. And conversely, very bad use for that site is residential, because there's no open space, it's surrounded by commercial uses.
You're not gonna try and turn that into selling dope, are you?
not a room.
That's not retail.
Oh,
So you can sit there.
It's my
think about-
office.
Think about selling it.
right next to CVS.
You know, I think,
It's the only drugstore in town
I think
now.
it's the best you could hope for
Drugstore,
that
drug
small
house.
little area. I'd like to make a motion that we approve it.
Are there any comments?
Anybody in the neighborhood?
Anyone from the audience would like to weigh in? No one's having fun tonight, huh?
It'd be nice to have it look a lot better. It's just an
Somebody
eyesore
finally living there,
the
yes.
last number of years.
Pardon?
Make sure he's.
Can you say your name
Bill
again?
Brown,
Bill
7 Old Orchard Lane.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll make a motion that we approve it with the potential of hopefully 5 spaces out there.
So I'm looking at it, it's listing 6 spaces, so it's 1 in front of 3 down below.
Let's hope they get the most they can get out of it. Let 'em
Just saying, so
do
you want
it.
to approve it with 6, you want to approve it with 5?
As long as they don't increase any more than the non,
I just say
Pervious.
the best they can do. If they get 5, they get 6. As long as they're not backing
So you
out
don't want to
onto the
limit it,
street.
but not to increase the impervious area?
No, they're not.
that's what I would like to say, not to increase the, the
Leave it as is, and let's increase to 58%.
Yeah, we're done with that.
Do the best you can with it. And as long as you're not backing out on the street to make a parking spot.
I'll second the motion.
had a motion, have a second, what do I hear? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you better make it look nice.
They've already made improvements.
Yeah, but when they've been 10 years ago, it's about time to take a look.
Did you promise that you're gonna make it look nice?
No, they already did.
No, are you promising, because you're gonna, yeah. Did you promise?
Do I need to do that?
Yes.
They just finished the,
Just want a man for his word, and, you know, and see what,
had
see where you
to,
stand.
wait until they had.
Well, they say the
until you
pen
were
is
here
mightier
to go
than the
back.
sword until you show
I
up
think
to a
that's what
knife
they're
fight
gonna do, and then
with a pen.
Later on, we'll skip back to that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Well, we gotta handle this in a certain way, don't we? We've,
Can we bump the other people and pull this one back in?
As long as you don't bump them too much past the time that they're supposed to open.
we're gonna have a public hearing at 7:45 on the sanctuary medicinals. How many people are here for that hearing?
They might
We're
as well.
gonna, we're gonna try and take, we had to go out of order with another applicant. Would you be objective if you waited an extra 10 minutes or so we could try and put the other one ahead? Show of hands, who objects? Nobody, thank you. All right, so what we'll do is we'll try and address the Cooper property, which was supposed to be here at 6:45. Okay, and now again, I've recused myself from this, so we're gonna allow Ed Mullen to,
Oh, yeah,
He is bad with names.
hey, I did all right, I didn't have to write it down again.
thank you.
I was about to pick it up. Richard, I'm glad you're here.
Mr. Mullen,
How we doing?
traffic was nice and light tonight. Flew really
All
fast.
right, so we're back to our 6:45 hearing, item 2. Continued hearing for Cooper Farm Estates, definitive open space subdivision, special permit, over 55 development, special permit, shared residential driveway, special permit. This is the second public hearing. For those that weren't here earlier, our chair, Peter Scott, has recused himself. We're sorry that he had to, we're sorry that he did, we don't feel like he had to, but we respect his decision. That being said,
Good evening. Nice to be back here again. Jennifer Platt, on behalf of M&M Realty Trust, here with Jonathan Markey Rubin, our engineer. This is a continuation of our open space plan. We were here 2 weeks ago to give an overview. The plan is up there. There hasn't been any change in the plans. What we're waiting for at this point is our peer review to come in from Green International. And as of this moment, I haven't heard of it coming in yet, unless you confirm with the board. You haven't
it's
seen
not
it?
complete.
So I believe we're just going to be asking for continuation unless there's any questions from the board that you'd like us to answer.
I don't think we can do much till green weighs in.
So, do you have any questions? Richard, do you have any questions you want to ask before we open up the public?
No, let's open it up, yeah. Yeah.
Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions at this time? We don't have a peer review to go over any of the recommendations from a third-party engineer, so at this time, we don't have any questions for you folks. Nothing in the audience. So, do we have to make a motion to continue?
Yeah, to date certain.
The one after the 16th is what?
March 2nd.
March 2nd. So, somebody make a motion?
Can we get on the next,
You can't get on the next
the
one?
next?
You run the risk of them not being done again.
I'd rather run the risk and continue it.
Well, do you have a quorum on the February 16th?
Are you here the 16th, Richard?
That
Can
was
I borrow your
that
private
was the
jet to
extra.
fly back up from Florida?
I came back up.
I don't want to come back the 6th, no, I have to anyway. I don't care.
I'm
We
good
do
for
both.
16 too.
Jamie, you with the 16th?
Yes.
You good?
Yeah, good.
What time do you have?
Well, do you want to shoot for 8:15? Do you think that would be good? Or
So
do you
we
want-
moved it to 7 o'clock for the first, and then we get them in at 8:15 if you want.
Unless,
Do that.
You can be here for that.
Yeah.
8:15 on the 16th?
As soon as I fly, I get in at 3:45, grab a bite to eat, get my bags. I can make.
All right.
Do you need a motion?
yeah.
We do need a
Yes, he
motion.
does.
I'll make a motion that we move the public hearing regarding the Cooper Farm Estates development discussion to February 16th at 8:15 PM.
Have a second?
What time was that?
8:15.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That good for you, Richard?
Yes, that works. for me.
8:15?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. No.
It is what it is.
So let's see the draft. No, when do they,
Monday.
you sent it to them before, so they can comment on it, or wait till they,
Oh, I sent it to him as soon as he's available.
well, I was curious how that.
Do we have any idea how far along they are, if they're gonna?
We should have a draft tomorrow.
Yep. Expect the final version to be ready early next week.
Okay, so the
Right, and we-
15th, well, the 16th.
Has everybody read this host community, huh?
I did, I got an email.
Right, have you read this, host community agreement?
No, I
Did you get it
haven't.
in the computer?
I didn't.
I'll have an email.
Why didn't they get it?
I requested it, but I've got to request it more. I requested it from Keith.
Yep.
Maren, could you, make sure that the other 3 board members get, a copy of that host community agreement?
Cooper?
With Cooper,
Well, I haven't seen it.
the town's host community?
No, did you email it to me? I didn't read it in there. It's in here?
The whole host community agreement was in there? I thought I read all that. Hey, Rich,
Peter, how are you
where you been hiding?
I was right down under here. You didn't see me earlier?
Oh, I thought you.
Can I start?
Yes.
The Town of Littleton Planning Board will host a consolidated public hearing on Thursday, February 2nd, 2017 at 7:45 PM in Room 103 of Town Hall, 37 Shattuck Street, to consider the application for special permits pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A in the Code of Town of Littleton zoning. The application is for a registered marijuana dispensary and aquifer and water resource district special permits under sections 173-61 through 173-64 and 173-185 through 173-192 of the Code of the Town of Littleton zoning. The property location is 234 Taylor Street, Assessors Map R-9, Parcel 34. Applicant is Sanctuary Medicinals. The applicant is seeking a registered marijuana dispensary and water resource district special permits to allow the change of use to the current building at 234 Taylor Street to a marijuana cultivation and processing site. There will be no direct retail sales from this facility. Application and plans can be viewed at the planning board and town clerk's office during the business hours. Any person interested in or wishing to be heard on the proposed plan should appear at the time and place designated or provide comment to m2hill@littletonma.org or P.O. Box 1305, Littleton, Mass. 01460. This was sent out to all abutters. Do I need to read that whole piece? No? Okay.
Okay, also that the mailings didn't get sent out the 14 days prior to this meeting. So at the end of it all, we are going to end up having this hearing continued to the March 16th or February 16th or possibly March, depending upon what's on the agenda for the February 16th. But with that being known and up front, so that there's more more feedback to be had. So if you would please have at it, my dear.
Okay. Jay, do you want to?
Make your presentation.
My name is Jason Simmons, CEO of Sanctuary Medicinals. We're here before you today to seek a special permit for a 234 Taylor Street marijuana cultivation center. Naturally, as it was said, there will be no retail sales at that location. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have in regards to that.
I have a problem with it. You keep calling it a dispensary, even though you say there's going to be no distribution.
Yeah, because the technical license is an RMD, and an RMD can either be a dispensary or a cultivation site in the state of Massachusetts. Therefore, RMD is abbreviated for Registered Marijuana Dispensary. So that's why we use that.
But you have no desire to dispense from there?
Absolutely not.
It's
Now or in the future?
Right. And that's also consistent with your zoning bylaw. It's a RMD special permit. And then you have the subcategories for cultivation, processing, and retail.
Well, cultivation and processing are going to be the same in this.
Right. But you have the options in your bylaw, and it's just a check off on your special permit application.
Richie?
Yes, I want to let everybody know that I got a chance to go up to New Hampshire and walk the facility that they have up in New Hampshire. Rochester, New Hampshire, is it? Yeah. And I think Maren was there. Two of the selectmen were there. I think Keith, did Keith come?
No.
No, someone, who else was there? But anyways, there was about 5 of us that walked the facility, and I was pretty impressed with it. Yeah, it's a very well-run setup. They have badges for individual employees, access badges, so you'll have access only to certain areas, depending on what the badge allows. They have door locks everywhere. I mean, everything is locked. They have an interlock that you just, or will have an interlock in this place, I think, when you come in, so you have to go through two doors just to get into the place. Cameras everywhere, special construction, so you can't get into the place from underground or overhead. And the growing facility, the growing rooms, were well managed. Now, they're clean, they filter the water, they have their own fertilizer that they put on, they have their own plants. It's the odor that's in the building. There is an odor that these plants give off while they're growing, and but you can't smell it outside the rooms that it's planted in.
I noticed you smiled when you said the odor.
I don't have the words to describe it. But it's an odor, but it's well contained. They have up in New Hampshire, they have some amazing air filtration systems. Even in they have a kitchen area where they process food, and even in the kitchen area where the food is processed, it's
Do you have anything to eat?
Yes, as a matter of fact, they gave us some brownies.
Great.
But they were free of cannabis products.
Oh, yeah, we'll go with that. That's why you already got them on your side. Now you got them hooked.
No, when I
You're
have
not
to,
allowed to give out samples that have cannabis in it by state law, so.
Next thing he gave them out, he told me he dropped a 50 on the floor.
I mean, we had chocolates and peanut butter cups and brownies, but they
Yeah.
were all,
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I have to say, when I saw the brownies, at that point, it was like a flashback to the 70s.
All right.
Pete Richard skipped the 70s.
But no, everything was as clean as a whip. The room where the lab where they process the the plants into a liquid, the
Extracts.
extract, whatever it is. It just as state of the art as you can get. So I'm
You happy with
impressed.
it? Good. Any questions for him?
I do not at this time.
Richard, I'm glad you got to go up. I was hoping to go. Unfortunately, there was an emergency that I had to attend to, so glad you get to put some eyes on it and see how
Oh,
it
my
operates.
goodness, yeah. They will.
Don't open that book.
According to the, if the place is anywhere, if the work they do on Foster Street is anything like the building that they have up there, there'll be no smell outside. It'll be completely contained inside. There'll be no way that anybody can come or go. They handle their waste in a very sneaky way, so you just never know it's going out or coming in.
One of the questions I would have is just between the operation that you have in New Hampshire and here, with the state regulations, can you identify a few significant differences between the two states that you have to pay attention to?
You know, I think the security measures are at such high standards, and I think as far as security goes, it's gonna be very similar, where he had witnessed, once we get into level 3, it's biometric access only. And as you mentioned, specific rooms for specific functions, so employees just don't have free rein over the building, so to speak. It will be a similar vault situation. We use a bank vault. It's slightly overkill and not regulated, but that's how we do it in that fashion. As far as transport, that will be handled the same way via a Sally port.
Yeah,
So the vehicle, which they saw as well, the vehicle comes in, there has to be two ATC, we call them ATC. In New Hampshire, it's an ATC, Alternative Treatment Center. Down here, it's an RMD. There has to be 2 agents in the vehicle at all times during a transport. They can't make stops anywhere or anything like that. I would say the frequency is going to be the same as New Hampshire, 2 to 3 transports per week. Slightly more employees down here. It's a larger facility, but we'll have the same functions. We'll have the cultivation, we'll have the extraction, and we'll have the kitchen processing area. So it's very similar in those aspects.
What do you do with the waste?
The waste is rendered useless. In New Hampshire, the stalks and the fan leaves have to be shredded and then mixed with a sand or a paper type material, 50-50, and then we put it into a locked storage outside, basically, on the day of pickup. So just a typical regular dumpster. It goes to the landfill. But you'd never know it. Does
it render the off waste useless?
It's rendered useless, absolutely. There'd be no cannabinoids in there.
No
And
seeds.
nothing recognizable. Yep.
Number of employees you hope to have?
Down here, I'm gonna say we're gonna get close to 20.
And out of that, locals will be apply for jobs and have
Absolutely.
clearance?
We've
and-
already, actually, we frequented quite a few restaurants out here and given out some cards.
Okay.
There was some interest.
Questions from the audience, and if you have any, could you please identify yourselves? No, any hands? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Bill Brown, 7 Old Orchard Lane. I'm just wondering, who are your customers and how far do you have to ship the extract?
Good question. So our patients, there's about 40,000 patients in the state of Mass right now. Mass puts on about an average of 2,000 additional patients per month. And we expect the program to see approximately 140, 150,000 patients by 2020. So Mass has a centralized database, unlike New Hampshire, where New Hampshire you have to select your ATC. There's 4 dispensaries in the state of New Hampshire. Down here, it's centralized, so a patient could effectively go to any dispensary that they want. Of course, there's maximums that they can buy, but our dispensary locations are predominantly in the North Shore. We'll have 3 of them. We're working, right now we have one that's finalized in the city of Gardner, and the other 2 will be located in the North Shore area.
So you'll transport it from here to there for sale?
Yes, and one thing to mention too, when it's transported, it's in a locked box, but in addition to that, everything is packaged at the cultivation site. So there's no, so to speak,
handling.
there's no handling of any sort, and everything is tamper evident, so we would know if anything was tampered with.
Mike?
Michael's 11 Luann Street. This is more future-oriented question. Do you have any interest or prospective customers from the biotech or pharmaceutical industry in Massachusetts coming to you for raw stock? Because, as you probably know, there's a great interest in all the compounds, and I think every pharmaceutical firm around the world has got a lineup of stuff.
Under the current law, we wouldn't have the ability to do that.
That's really what I'm trying. So in other words, so you can't ship raw material that you sell to patients.
No.
You're precluded from providing the same material to local firms, the biotech firms. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right. But, you know, I like to say that we're really a biotech firm under the guise of a medical marijuana license. Why do I say that? Because we do fractionation and isolation of individual cannabinoids, so we can actually make custom medicine just like a pharmaceutical company could, believe it or not.
Oh, no, it's fairly easy stuff. I mean, it's trivial. It's the patent stuff, the knockoffs that
The formulations.
No, it's the knockoffs that are coming down the line that threaten your business, but that's where we are today. Okay.
Hi, I'm Vin Bertolino, 10 Crane Road. Do we have any information about the impact of property values?
I don't think that's been put before anybody. The building's already there, you're not adding any additions to it, correct?
I'm talking about the use, not the size of the building, but the use of it.
Oh, the property value, will the value of the property go up?
Property value of surrounding homes based on the use of the building.
No, I don't know if there's some survey that can be done on it. For the most part, and from what I can tell, you're not even gonna know what's in there.
But I was at that place in New Hampshire, and let me tell you, it's like, I would have to say it's like the money room for a bank. It's, from the outside, it's nondescript. There's not even a sign. There's a three-letter sign that says SMS or something like that, and on the front door. The entry to the place is not at the front door. It's at a nondescript door around the side. There's no smell. When the truck comes, the truck goes through a garage door into the building. The truck is not marked, the little van, and then it comes out the door at some nondescript time. You can't smell anything. Other than employees going into that building and exiting that building, you'd never know that anything was going on inside that building that wasn't going on there before. When the Pallador place was there, I'd say there was more noise and more disruption to the area than these people will create. They'll have special types of fans on the roof. They scrub the odors and filter the air coming in. You know, normal fans, you won't hear those from.
His question is probably because folks are gonna know what's there, and there's.
Yeah, I think people will know regardless of the odor.
And that's what he's getting at, like.
I wouldn't know how to,
We
man,
have
is there,
It's so new, we don't know.
Yeah, so
It's
that's a
unknown.
great point. That was sort of one of my considerations.
Absolutely.
It is very new. We don't have any data on it probably. And it seems like it might be, let's say, risky for Littleton to be an experiment for other communities where there could be an impact on property values in an adverse way.
But what would...
hang on, Richie, please.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's new to Littleton, but it's definitely not new. There's 26 states now that are medicinal, and we follow every state, believe it or not, the laws and the rules, and we watch things very closely. I have never had that. I've never heard of that. I can see how it could be a concern, for sure. I don't discredit that at all. But I've never heard that been brought up by any other cultivators or anything like that. And in Rochester, I do want to add, he saw, when he was there's a residence actually that's probably within, actually 6 residences within 100 feet of the entrance.
Yeah, my
to our
question
building.
wasn't really about the proximity of residences, but the impact on the property values.
Oh,
So
and
if we have
Littleton
lot
as a
of-
whole, you mean?
So if we have, well, especially the areas closest to it. So if we have a lot of these states that are doing this, wouldn't it make sense to get some data around what it does to the community and the property values?
If I could comment on that, I'm Sue Carter from Places Associates, the site engineer. Typically, what we find impact residential property values is if it's a commercial use that's very obvious, fenced in, I mean, if they had a 8-foot-high chain link fence with razor wire on top, yes, that would potentially impact your property value. This is intended to be as innocuous looking as possible, with the only sign at the street being the street number. And also, they'll have less traffic than you currently have. It's currently got a site plan for 60 people, 60 employees. They're gonna have 20. There's no retail, so it's gonna be about as innocuous as you can get for commercial building, so close to residential.
Yeah, I would agree though with Jamie that regardless of whether or not you advertise that it's there, people will know that it's there.
No.
All right, well, to the statement you said, there's gonna be no wire fence, there's gonna be no razor wire.
Yeah.
I thought, and again, at the earlier meeting, there's some security involved with this, and some of it is kept, you know.
Secret.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Some of the, in a minute, ma'am, they kept it to themselves on what exactly they're gonna have in there for motion detectors, guard dogs, I have no idea. I'm not privy to that. The police department has seen some of the stuff and is confident with what they're gonna propose. But your question is there's no fence, no new fencing going around the place? The truck traffic is gonna be less than what we have, that has been typically there when Pella was there and such. So we're reducing all those things. The only thing we're adding to it is what's getting grown inside. Okay?
That's the point, I think.
So let's just say, how long have you been in New Hampshire?
We started cultivating this time last year. We're the first to cultivate in the state.
All right, so the bad part is that you don't have a good track record, even though the entire country is making these things.
We have a great, actually, the chief of police came here on our behalf.
I'm saying a long track record, right now you got a 40-yard dash, we're looking for some marathons yet. So we don't have a way to really make a determination whether or not you've lost value to properties around your buildings. We don't have a way to track that, correct? Just in the short term, did anybody, since you've built up in New Hampshire or gone into business, have any houses sold in the general vicinity?
I
Well, I'll tell you what, how about it, again, we're gonna continue this meeting. How about if you get me, you have a real estate agent up there, send us, bring with, somehow before our next meeting, any properties within a half a mile radius, regardless of what the sale prices are, their history of sales, so we can get some form of an idea as to whether or not you've diminished the value of some of the properties around you.
Sure.
And at least it'll give us, hopefully give you some.
Yeah, may I ask that you extend that thought though?
To a mile?
little bit? Yeah, so, what did you say, 46 different
States?
dispensaries in the
26.
state?
26.
26.
No, there's
No,
nine,
in the
well, there's
country.
9 in this state right now that are open.
Well, whatever, it
In-
sounds
in
like there's a lot.
Massachusetts?
Massachusetts, there's 9 dispensaries open at the second. But we're not a retail dispensary. We're
Yeah,
cultivating
the
and
word
processing.
dispensary doesn't mean you're retailing, right?
Well, yeah, he asked that question earlier.
Yeah, I
and-
understood that, I used the word because that's what we're calling it.
Right,
Yeah.
but again, they're not
That
selling,
wasn't
there's
the
no
point.
foot
I
traffic.
don't think you're selling it, that's not, out of there, that's not, I'm not
I think
confused
that's
about
a
that.
respectful.
But my point was the,
Would-
Yeah, it's a good question.
It's,
Go ahead, sir.
Peter, sorry,
That's okay.
you would ask them for data about their one site in New Hampshire, and I just thought you could probably get a better sample size if you extend that maybe out to whoever's doing this research to look around, the rest of the state. or
All right.
we don't have anybody to do it.
So, well, you asked, you've heard his request. Now, the 9 that are in this is new. So who's been in business the longest? Colorado, correct, Anna?
That's
How
a
many-
different environment.
Completely.
The no zoning, unlimited licenses, not even,
Wild, wild west.
yeah.
Okay.
We'll research Colorado.
Just to have a blanket policy of something we can see whether or not there's been some diminishing.
Yeah, but see, you can't, I wouldn't.
I know we
wouldn't
can't
go across the
compare.
country. No, I would say that if we're gonna try to do something that's somewhat comprehensible, I would say let's limit it to Massachusetts, because that's where we're working.
I think that's a
Peter,
great
could I
idea.
make a comment?
Massachusetts specifically.
I don't,
And
again.
if we want, and if you could contact a realtor in each town and just get a market analysis done for a half a mile around each dispensary,
Yeah, we can do that.
I think that would be a reasonable.
All right, that's fair for present.
Thanks.
Hang on a second.
Sorry,
That's all right.
Can I just wrap up, since you, that sounds like a great idea, except I'm wondering, do we go with, would it make sense to have a third party involved as
Well,
opposed
once
to-
we get the product, the information from them, it's not gonna be that hard to check out whether what sold and what didn't sell. MLS will throw things up. Mr. Knox, I'm sure, will give us a little bit of hand to that when being a selectman in town and being in the real estate, correct? There you go, we got a volunteer.
Thank you.
And it's not that I'm cutting you off or anybody else. You've already had your chance. Is it a quick one?
Very quick.
All right.
I'll just say that when you do this research, you should distinguish between what he's doing with not having retail sales. I would imagine having retail sales
Would be
that
more
type of
detrimental.
dispensary would have more of an impact.
Great.
1256 Hill Road, Nancy Morrison, directly across the street from where you're putting it in. My question is, can this ever change into a dispensary? Because I have a very nice house across the street, and I can see my value go right down the hill. Also, are they going to look into Boxborough, because we live right on the line? So that needs to go
Who's gonna look into
Boxborough,
Boxborough? For which?
For values of property up there also?
Well,
It's Boxborough.
Pardon me?
This is Littleton.
Well, I know what she's asking, but this,
I'm right on the line, I mean, we could
Understand that.
practically throw
well,
a
they're not gonna be
baseball
able to
to
do a
Boxborough.
market analysis of Boxborough for houses now because this place isn't in business yet. We're looking for places that already have a business to see if it's detrimental to any of the real estate costs, values there. Ma'am, over in the corner.
Basically the same
Your name,
concern.
please?
Oh, Heidi Kidd, Liberty Square Road in Boxborough. I know if I was going to buy a new house and I knew there was a cultivation plant there, that is not where I'd be looking.
Okay, thank you.
Peter, could I please, I can help answer this question.
Rich, if you know.
They're not going off, they're wondering about folks knowing
Right.
what's there.
We know there
You
was a
know, that's-
wonderful.
We know that that place up in New Hampshire was well-kept and well-run and well-managed, but it's the fact of people knowing what's in there.
If this was Pfizer or another drug company that moved in there, and they were making drugs, let's say OxyContin, all right? There would be no difference from the outside of that building to what's inside the building. This is the same type of
That's not,
use.
that's not,
If
there's
it's
no
a-
correlation between OxyContin and growing marijuana and the values of the houses around it. There's no correlation. So,
I think
I
there
understand
is,
your,
because it's a processing, it's a drug processing facility that's closed to the public.
okay.
It's
Would you guys rather
very
have Pfizer
secure.
in there making OxyContin or marijuana being grown?
I don't
I
understand
think
your
if they were
point,
making-
to be honest.
I don't
It's
think there's.
both are a drug.
Okay,
Both are a
well,
drug that
that's-
are.
That's a path we don't need to address.
Direction to go in.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
They're gonna bring us information, I think.
I know this is a relatively new field and a relatively new industries, but there are groups, the lobbyists that have gotten all of this stuff through. They've done studies, they've done reports about the impact of having this in neighborhoods. I think if you go all the way to the Washington level or wherever you can go to whatever help groups that you have in order to get this permitted, they'll tell you what the impact of it is to the neighborhoods. That's where you should start, to make sure that on a federal level, they've looked at it to make sure that it's not gonna be detrimental to where they're sited. I would hope our federal government has looked at least to make sure that if you're gonna approve these, they're not gonna be detrimental to the neighborhoods they're in. Start there, see what kind of data you can get from them, and then go on a local level and see how it affects property values in Gardner and wherever else you are. But at least start there, at least try to give them some sort of, and I understand what you're saying, ma'am. If you've got a house and you wanna put it on the market and people know that there's a facility growing marijuana, it could be detrimental to the property value of your property. But in the same token, it's aquaculture now, or we're growing all kinds of stuff indoors now.
I don't
It's the
understand why we have
marijuana
to have it
aspect
in a
of it.
neighborhood, right? There's so much land and empty areas in this area, around. Why do we have to have it in a neighborhood?
It's actually in an industrial zone.
Okay, you want to address something?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're also here for a special permit under the Water Resource Protection District and for site plan review. Does the board have any interest in me addressing what physical changes are happening on the
Yes.
outside of the building?
I would like to see what you're gonna do on the exterior of the building and so that at the next meeting we have, people can come more informed for what you have.
Okay.
before us now.
So, what you have on the screen right now is our site plan. So if you look on the, going the long way on the plan, you can see Taylor Street and the driveway coming in. Coming into the site, we're gonna have a security gate that will either be a key card or a key code. We're not sure, I'm not sure that that's been decided yet. And if I just, if I can go up a couple of shots. Oh, sorry, too far. If you look at the main entrance, you can see where cars are parked in the front parking lot. That's where the employees are gonna be. So what we're proposing to do is do screening just on the inside of the stone wall, so that somebody driving by can't do a head count on how many employees may or may not be in the building at any given time, and that's just to add to a little more security. If I go back to the site plan.
I'm sorry, so once again,
Okay.
I was looking for something, how much, what are you doing? What are you
Okay,
proposing
so
for
if you look
screening?
along Taylor Street, you see those circles, those represent plantings.
Okay,
We're gonna be doing some more evergreen plantings
all right.
to give some more screening to the employee parking lot. The intent is to keep it very natural and not to call any attention to this building. Other changes that we'll be doing to the site plan is if we look down at the length of the building, on the upper side, we're gonna be moving the locked dumpster closer to the building so that it's easier for them to take any waste material out and get it into the dumpster. We also are proposing to put in a industrial holding tank, and that is because of the processed water will be mostly recycled, but as anybody knows, with plants, you build up nitrogen from fertilizers and salts. So that would, any backwash from filtration system would go into that holding tank. That would get pumped out and disposed of probably in a wastewater treatment plant. So it's not
Probably or
going,
maybe?
oh, I'm sorry, it would go, I don't know which wastewater treatment plant it would go to, but it would be disposed of properly. It's
How many
not going,
gallons does this place go through and how often would that be emptied?
Probably not very often.
But
I don't have the exact number. No, I think
Take a
when we were
wild
looking at the
guess.
engineering, it was like once a month.
yeah.
see, what this is about is the empty water, the plants, the
Richie,
excess water.
Yeah.
I know, hang on a minute.
Okay.
We want to have her finish her
Okay.
presentation?
So, just for orientation for the board, if you look along the back of the building, which is to the far right, there's a little bump out. That's the area where we have some secured access into the building, and we have a loading dock back there. None of those are expected to change. It's just gonna be security enhanced. If we look at the very, working around the building clockwise, on the lower portion of the building, which would face the abutters, we have HVAC units over there. The HVAC units are gonna be replaced with different air handlers and chillers and condensers that'll be more state-of-the-art and quieter than what's there right now. We also will be putting in a grease trap because Title V requires it for any kitchen flows. Even though we do not expect to have any grease coming out of the kitchen, it's just meeting the requirements. As we continue around the building to the front of the building, we're proposing an emergency generator. When we met with the board a month ago, we thought the generator would be natural gas. We've started to look into it and found out that to meet the electrical loads that they need for the plants, they would need basically 4 times the number of generators, natural gas, than going with diesel. So what we are proposing is a diesel belly tank, similar to what you have at the police station or the fire station, only slightly larger. They'll have the double-walled tanks with interstitial monitoring, so if there's a leak in the inside tank, they'll know it before it hits the outside tank, as well as 110% containment. We also have run the numbers, and we got numbers from the manufacturer on the noise level, knowing that that could be a concern with neighbors nearby. And the noise level we were given was, I can put my glasses on. Excuse me for a second. The noise level is 75 decibels at 7 meters, or roughly 21 feet. And we asked, Jay asked his sales rep what a relatively large whole house residential generator would be for 10,000 watts. Honda has a higher decibel of 76 at the same distance. So if we had a major power outage, you're going to hear generators humming around everywhere, and this is going to be, will not be discernible from any residential generator.
You see, this one is 7 decibels at 21 feet?
No, it's 75
75.
at 21 feet, or 7 meters. And the residential one that we got the comparison to was 76 at the same distance.
All right.
So it's roughly similar.
Is that where the main power line goes into the building now?
Yes, the main power line goes into the front of the building, and in order for the efficiency, the generator has to be there. I mean, ideally, we would have liked it at the back corner of the building, but in terms of the most efficient place, it's in the front.
What's the line droppage on a line necessary to go 100 feet?
It's
'Cause
more
how
than
long is the
100.
building?
140 feet.
All right, and you got 8, how far is it from that generator to Taylor Street, please? Guesstimation.
I would have to grab my scale and,
It's 120, 130 feet.
no, from
All right,
Taylor.
plus you got the street, so the closest residence is,
50-foot setback, so.
Yeah, it's a 50-foot setback and it's
Probably
greater than.
160, 50, 60.
Yeah, it looks like.
do you have any decibel levels on a distance of 150 feet away
We
for
do
this
not.
machine? Is it possible to get that for the next meeting, so we know what it is? And how far it is to the closest residence, just out of 8? You know that?
Well, let me give you a quick picture of how far it shows from the abutting property. We do have pictures.
Not so
All right,
much-
this is taken from the lot line looking towards the site. The generator is over 100 feet to the property line.
But I'm asking where the next residence is.
Well, give me a second.
Is there one on that side? Does someone know where she's measuring to?
If you look on the slide right now,
Yeah.
the generator would be in the very front of the site. So, if I may, the generator would be
Right there?
in this location. It's 100 feet to this lot line,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm guessing it's probably another 150 feet to that residence. I think there's another one over here.
Okay. I'd like to know if you could give me the decibel level at the distance to those people's houses.
How about at the edge of the road, because that's gonna be.
I mean, the road doesn't care what it hears.
But it's an equal distance.
Regardless. Or
This is just.
in lieu of. If it's 150 feet or 200 feet, whatever it is to the closest residence, that's what I'd like to know what the decibel level is.
Okay.
I'd like to know if there's if it is possible, what the line droppage would be if we ran the line from somewhere else, how much actually power you need, how big the generator is gonna be, how many KW is it?
Probably 700 to 800.
700 to 800
That's right.
KW?
Yep.
It's a friggin' semi-truck.
Yeah.
That's big.
And that's part of the reason why the diesel is more,
Well,
Actually, that's not a semi-truck.
well, it's big, I mean.
It's a big generator, yeah, about 1,000 horsepower diesel motor.
Okay, we've had center of town, IBM, what is it called now? They just upgraded theirs to this, so the generator you're speaking of, we have familiarity with it, which is nice, but again, as far as the residents are concerned, I want to make sure that if there's a way to try and make it quieter, if it's necessary, and again, as long as you're within the rules of.
we have called out that it has to have the noise dampening kit to it to make it as, basically it's enclosed so that it will absorb some of the noise from the generator, and that is being shown.
What size generator is that again?
Probably
250?
700 to 800 kilowatt.
7,800.
I would think over at IBM, you're talking like 3 megawatt type situation.
Yeah, we have,
Like 3,000.
the one we put on the Russell Street School is, I would say, almost the same size.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah, and it's the same thing, diesel.
All right, so as long as, again, okay, keep going, my dear.
And the one comment I would make is realize that this is only going to be running for a test for 15 minutes once a week, like any other
Yeah.
automatic generator,
And
and
then-
it only will be when the power is out.
Okay.
Okay, so, sorry, let me get back to the site plan.
If there's any concern, we could just add some arborvitae's around it.
And that was the thing, is what I would suggest is that once it's installed, if there's any additional screening needed, we could provide it at the time.
Yeah.
It's hard to see at this point in time. There's a very dense deciduous trees between there and the road, and it's hard to see even the building from the road. So I would suggest that that could be something the building inspector could require if necessary.
Along those lines.
Yep.
You've got a parking lot for 70 cars right now.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you have all the employees and everyone else park on the side and have nothing in the front, so people don't even know it's there?
It is because of the orientation of how the security system is. The front, the main entrance of the building is going to be where the employee entrance is.
Yeah.
And that'll be the lowest, that'll be the card swipe entrance.
Why
And the
can't
rest
they-
of the building will be more secure.
Why can't they just park on the side and walk around to the front of it? That way there's
I think,
a minimal amount of vehicles, so nobody really knows it's operational, what's going on out there. You want to try to minimize what's
of
out
course, and we could do that, but when we spoke to the police chief about that, he kind of indicated he would prefer the employees to have the shortest walk to their car if they left at night or something like that, so
You're gonna have,
that's,
you're
but
gonna have lights, and you're gonna have a security.
actually, we're gonna have the lights that are on there now. So all the cameras will actually be infrared, so we're not gonna
I think the
illuminate.
people that walk it.
You're not making it into a prison camp.
The IBM people and everyone else walk a lot further than 150 feet up. My point is, the residents in the neighborhood don't even want to know it's there.
It has to
The
be
more you can do to make it look like there's nobody there, it's minimum.
They also have to be, they have to do ADA compliant
That's
also
where our
if they go out
handicap
back.
is up front.
Yeah.
Okay, so you leave the handicap spaces and have.
But Mark, what they're talking about is, the employees, they don't want the employees exposed to any issues, if there's any issue would come up.
This isn't just somebody walking into IBM where they're dealing with computers. The concern is the overall security of the site and the security for employees working within it as well.
Why are you worried about, can I say anything yet or not?
Can you let me just finish my point first then? It's more, I think it's more important to make it blend in and not look like it's a concentration
Well,
camp.
if you go by there now, you have you can see the cars there now, and that's why we're proposing more screening, so you can't see it from the street. So we're actually improving over what's there now.
You're trying to minimize people going by and counting how many people are there. I'm
Right.
trying to say, you put them in the back so that you can't really see who's there, whether it's even open or not, or anything else like
You know what, I
that.
think we can certainly do that. We'll just run that by the chief, because everything that we do, we're in very close connection with the chief there, and he's been excellent with reviewing
So,
all
for the
our.
record, I'm okay with the parking in the front.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with
And I don't
with
either.
nicer trees to cover up more of it, you know, but where the parking is the parking, it's already there. What are we gonna do?
Oh, there's parking on the side too, if you want to
driveway.
make it look like
Yeah.
home.
Well, I don't, I understand what you mean.
All right, I don't have any issue with the parking in the front either.
Next,
I think
Take a look at the
Sorry.
drive area
this
here.
is the driveway.
If the areas in front are screened in, but there's gonna be an open area where people have a sight line to the side parking, which you're suggesting, I think there'll be exposure, greater exposure there to cars on the side of the
Good
building
point.
than in front, especially if you're screening the front. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the other thing is the police also wanted to be able to drive in to the gate and be able to see what's going on in there.
If you have everybody on the side and they pull in, they see all the cars there, it's a pretty one-stop shop.
Okay, let's
The,
move on.
the only other thing that I would like to point out to the board is that this site plan was approved in 1994 prior to, and originally back in the 80s, prior to the adoption of your water resource protection district bylaw. The site currently is 25% lot coverage, so that it would require a special permit. So it's a pre-existing non-conforming, and we have given you those numbers to bring it into compliance. And we are improving the drainage system slightly by putting in oil and grease trap hood on the existing single catch basin. But minimal changes to the exterior of the building.
In a lower density use than what was originally.
A much
proposed.
lower density. Currently, it's approved for 60 employees. We're proposing 20 employees. So the septic system just passed the Title V inspection, no changes, other than they need to brush hog over the leaching fields. That hasn't been done in a while. And the installation of the grease trap for the kitchen flows.
okay, Richie, you got a question, or just a short, sweet, and to the point?
Thank you, Peter.
Give it hell.
The process water holding tank is for the recycled water, what they plan to do. This is what.
I don't care what they plan to do, I want you to tell me whether or not you got any questions about, you don't have to sing their praises, honestly.
No, it's something that you need to understand. They take all the water that goes into the plants and onto the floor, It's gonna go into a drain that'll be pumped out and put into this processing tank, recycled, cleaned, and put back into the plant later on.
Excuse me, Rich, this processing tank is exterior to the building, is only going to be for the waste that's going to be disposed. The recycle process will all occur within the building.
Within the building,
So
okay.
it's not going to be exposed to any outside influences. This is purely waste.
Got it.
And it will be alarmed and the typical holding tank
Great.
process.
Jamie?
No questions?
Nope, good for now.
No questions on my end.
And I just want to say, before I went up there, I was one of the biggest opponents of marijuana, and I really was. And after seeing the process for myself, I'm very convinced that it's a very professional operation. It's here to stay. So, based on what I saw, I thought it was probably at the level of a drug company that, that you'd see in Fort Devens.
I'm sorry, when you say it's here to stay, it's here where?
Hold on.
No, marijuana.
Sorry, hang on a minute.
The marijuana is here to stay. The concept of
Littleton right
marijuana
now?
All right, Richie, hang
in
on.
the state.
You'll get your chance, promise.
Thank you, Peter, for letting me talk.
What variance are you asking for?
I'm not asking for variance.
Was there something about now it's in the water district, of water
That's
resources?
a special permit. And so we're asking for, under the Water Resource District Special Permit. Just let me switch to the right sheet here. So the ones that we are asking for is storage of petroleum in quantities greater than 500 gallons, which is the belly tank on the diesel generator. Toxic or hazardous materials, because they use ethanol in the processing of the marijuana, and they use isopropyl alcohol for wiping down surfaces in the
What's the-
lab.
All right, let me, can you, if you mind addressing each one as you go
Okay.
along, so I don't end up with 50 things to
Okay,
ask questions on?
it's summarized
Ethanol,
in
how
it.
much ethanol do you use?
Well, it's a combined that you need to have is less than 50 gallons. Ethanol, we had said,
At any point in time, you're gonna have any more than 50 gallons stored on the property?
no.
And how long will it take you to go through 50 gallons of ethanol?
Oh, we recycle it.
You
We
recycle?
reuse it in the
And-
process, over and over.
So the permit is that they can only have 50 gallons.
Right, it's up
Okay.
to 50 for the permit.
Pardon?
The request we have is up to 50 gallons combined of any toxic or hazardous materials.
And it's aggregate?
Aggregate, yes, that's the way your bylaw is. And we have fireproof cabinets that it's stored in that also has the containment for it. Ethanol is typically in smaller containers, a 1 to 5 gallon size container, so it's not a 55 gallon drum like you may see in another type of facility.
With the maximum?
Of 50, according to your bylaw.
Containment for all of them? Okay.
The impervious cover I just mentioned is 25%. It's unchanged, but it was never documented previous to this.
And what's our bylaw for this?
Is it 30?
Anything over 15% requires a special permit.
Right, right.
Okay.
Allowed up to 50%.
All right. there's-
So we're within the range for a special permit. And as I said, it's more catching up to what was never documented in the past.
It's pre-existing non-conforming.
Right.
Is there any monitoring going on in this facility as it is?
No, there is no monitoring.
No well, no water monitoring present?
No, not at all.
And has the water department weighed in on this?
I sent it to Corey and did not get any comments back from him. I can back check with him.
All right, would you please?
The other one that we've listed is toxic or hazardous waste. We don't believe it applies to this site, but we did want to flag out the fact that if any of the processed water was not going to, if it went to the septic tank or septic system, then we would exceed your regulations, which is why we have the industrial process holding tank. But I did want to flag out there is no toxic or hazardous waste on the site. It's processed water that's going to a holding tank, which will be pumped, hauled, and disposed of properly off-site.
Okay, just had a couple of funny questions. This place will never, ever ask for a sales positioning out of it?
No,
Ever?
never.
Promise?
As promise as I can promise.
But Pete, we're only gonna be given a permit for growing.
I understand that, I'm just,
But I do want to add, we only have 3 licenses, that's the maximum in this state, and we have more than 3 locations right now for dispensing, so we're actually gonna have to pick which ones we go with, so.
Yeah.
Right now, we're in Gardner and, like I said, the North Shore, so.
so.
That we
This
would
isn't,
never be
this
able
is
to.
not a done deal right to this point, is what you're telling me.
No,
You'd like to-
no, what I mean is, we wouldn't be able to do it anyways.
Oh, you mean it's
Because we
across
only
the
have
street.
3 licenses and.
3 dispensaries.
And they have
That's
dispensary
right.
locations.
And we already have the dispensing locations.
See, because we're still calling this an RMD. I wish we could have it an RMG.
Or C.
Growing.
Or C for cultivation.
Growing.
Okay.
I got off on another tangent, sorry, my
So,
mind is.
Mr. Chairman, I've included in your packages breakdowns of the details of the water resource. I called it Water Resource Protection District Supplemental Information, which identifies the information we just talked about. I similarly have gone through and done a more detailed breakdown of the process in our project narrative, and I also went through and did summaries to meet the requirements for the RMD special permit, which had specific issues that we had to address, of which included that it is not for the retail sale, it's solely for the cultivation and growing of the marijuana and the processing of it.
All right, we have no more questions from the board. We've semi-exhausted the questions from the, not quite yet?
Not yet.
First lady, ma'am?
From Old Orchard Lane, just wondering, have there been any other police reports from any of the other locations you've had?
0.
Zero.
And that, the chief of Rochester actually came here at our select board meeting and attested to that.
I'm sorry, just to clarify your question and answer, was that about their single other location? Was that about these dispensaries all around Massachusetts?
I thought the dispensaries around Massachusetts.
Well, I can't answer if there's ever, I mean, studies have shown that actually crime goes down if you look at Colorado, believe it or not.
Crime goes down when?
When marijuana comes to town, basically.
All right, hang on now.
For dispensing side, I mean, this is
growing, not dispensing.
All right.
But I think the question she asked was actually, have we ever had any issues in New Hampshire at either our cultivation site in Rochester or our dispensary in Plymouth? And I said the chief actually came here and said, we've had 0. And that's for Rochester at the cultivation site, and we've had 0 issues at our dispensary location in Plymouth.
Okay, Mrs. Morrison?
Yep, 1256 Hill Road. My question is, we've had water bans here in Littleton for quite a few years. How much water are they going to require from the town? And has the water department aware of this, how much they'll be taking in for water? That could cut us back even further?
All right, what we've,
The water department is aware.
they are aware of the issues that they have and that they're, and what they're gonna
It's by
need.
the
And by the sounds of things, it sounds like they, recycle an awful lot of it. It just doesn't run all the ways out and back again, which is, that's their business. I guess when the meter starts spinning, we're gonna find out exactly what's going on. And you guys will be paying your water bill.
And electric.
Promise?
Electric.
Just having
The
fun.
biggest impact is the electric bill.
Okay, any other questions from, sir?
Hi, yeah, Vin Bertolino, 10 Crane Road. So I can't tell from the drawing, what makes up the perimeter of this building in terms of bushes, fences, what have you?
Can we have the real life
Aerials?
picture?
Is it changing at all?
No,
Nothing.
this is the
Okay.
view from 247 Taylor Street, the residential abutter. So if you look up in the corner, it'd be the residential abutter on the lower part of that.
Okay, that's
Picture?
good. So my question then is,
There's
there's no
room
security around the perimeter of the building. So-
Actually, there's a tremendous amount of security around
Somebody
these
walk right
buildings.
through the wood, they'd walk down my driveway
And we
through
would,
the woods, right?
I can't get into the level of security that we have. I can say that it's very similar to a casino. And the second that there's any movement out there, people are alerted instantly.
All right, but there's no fence.
Oh, no.
Right, so you're not adding a fence so
No.
people couldn't
No.
walk in there.
They're never getting into that building, but yeah, I mean, they could walk
Okay,
into
so the
the
security has been well there, both of it?
But the chief does know the security.
So then, my other question is related to all of that. So I actually wasn't as concerned as now that I've heard all of the security measures that you've put in. May I ask, why is there so much emphasis on security if there are no security issues?
Because it's mandated by the state.
Okay. Do you think there's a reason for that?
Because that's how these new programs start, and I actually think it's good that there are cameras on every inch of the facility, both on the inside and the outside.
Yeah, well, I would wonder what the cameras might be looking for.
The same thing that cameras would be looking for at a bank, maybe?
Yeah,
But you gotta
people-
remember one thing
people
too.
coming with
There's
that
no
intention,
cash here.
right?
There's no cash on site. So this is only plant material, and even to go as far as to say this is not a really cash-intensive business anymore, because banks actually we can accept debit cards and credit cards with a PIN at the dispensing location, which this is not. So it's heavily, there's a lot of security. I think it's there for good reason and good protection of the employees, as well as
Okay.
the premises.
Right, we will have another shot at them on February 16th, is that, we'll continue the, how did we do this, my dear?
What time would you like to?
Mr. Chairman, can I just go down our hit list of what you want us to address? You asked for the question about impact on property values.
Yep.
You asked for information on the sound from the generator at 100 and 150-foot offsets.
No, whatever the close.
Whatever, yeah.
Whatever it turns
Okay.
to be the closest residence to that generator.
A couple of distances. And then you asked for the water department to give feedback.
And want to know if, again, I don't see you discharging anything into the aquifer from what,
Yep.
everything you show, so I don't really think we ought to call for monitoring wells presently. If you do get to the point where you find that you're not using as much parking spaces that you are, and you want to do some, remove some of the asphalt to make it more, pervious, that wouldn't harm the position you're in. Other than that, I don't see a real issue. Is there anything that you would like to see out of them for the next meeting? Mark?
Good for right now.
Ed?
I'm good for right now. I thought you did a good job answering all the questions tonight. Thank you.
Would you like to see anything more than what we've addressed?
I think
Yes or no? We're way behind. Yes or no?
No.
Okay, great. You all set?
We are, thank
You
you.
all set?
One thing I just wanted to make the motion to continue the public hearing for 234 Taylor Street, sanctuary medicinals to 8:30 on February 16th.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So be it. Nays? None? We good? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.
There's, in the long run, we're also gonna have some bylaw drafts and such as that, so any residents who would like to weigh in on the next thing, it'd be great to stick around.
Okay.
All right, so where are we now? Thank you. Richie, we're on the roll.
Right, thank you so much. Thank
Where the hell are we? Oh, good.
Hi.
Are we on the 8:15 now?
Yeah, I think so. Last item.
What is this?
You can pretend it's 8:15.
All right, I did that.
I think so, because that's what they've had. You want to come on up here? Because that's the one you've actually had a chance to read.
For the last couple of times we went through it.
How are you?
I'm gonna put my mess in your way, Paul.
That one we,
I can tell you what, I I know. Interesting.
We have Judy and Amanda.
Yes.
Let's go with the accessory dwelling, the way you have it, section 6.1.
Sure.
And see what you, because, again, we've already had,
Yes.
and there's some things that I personally would like to see handled a little bit different, but.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay?
Yeah,
Off you go.
that's why it's the first draft.
There you go.
Last time I was here, we talked about the possibility of making it a bit easier for people to create accessory apartments or accessory dwelling units. They go by the same name. So I went to your existing section for accessory dwelling units and basically said, we're going to replace that with something different. And so that's why the numbering is what it is. Your existing accessory dwelling unit section is Article 13, and it begins on Section 17858, or 17358. So essentially what this says is, if you're doing an accessory apartment interior to a single-family home, you can do that by right, subject to the standards that are laid out under 17358. And those standards are, you can only have one per lot, has to be inside a single-family dwelling, that the apartment has to be designed to maintain the appearance of a single-family home, which means that there's a limitation as to how much floor space expansion can be done to the house in order to accommodate the apartment. Any access to the second floor has to be internal. And if there are more than two or more entrances on the front facade, you have to sort of design that front facade so it clearly looks like a single-family dwelling. There's a cap on the floor space for a single-family dwelling, not to exceed the lesser of 40% of the gross floor area of the house in which the unit's located, or 900 square feet, and a limitation on bedrooms to 2. I also suggested in here, just for discussion, that perhaps you set an age limit on the house so that there's basically a rolling eligibility to do accessory apartments. So it isn't just all the units in the town, it's something has to be at least 5 years old before it can apply for an accessory apartment permit. That's just something for you to think about. A lot of towns have, well, there's a fear that a lot of people have that somehow once you allow accessory apartments, that the floodgates are going to open and everybody's going to be asking for one of these, so, which isn't really what happens, but there is that fear. So sometimes communities will say, well, not everyone is eligible right away. Your house has to be at least a certain age, and that's typically set in a number of years. So I put 5 years in here. You may not even like that, but I put it in for discussion purposes.
Very interesting. I think I like it.
Yeah,
I
it's,
don't.
okay, that's all right, but just, that's for you to discuss.
My reason for the don't is if someone moves into town and moving to relocate, and they have an elderly parent.
Yep.
They have, or
Yep.
something along that line, and they want that parent, I don't think that they should have to buy a house that's 5 years old, or they have to live into it for 5 years before they can have it. I built one, and I built it with the express intention of my mother living in it.
Yep.
So when I built the house, I built the apartment with it.
Yep,
And,
that's fine.
so that, for me, I don't like it, but again, it's not up to me individually. So.
Yeah.
Okay, you've
I just want you to know
convinced me.
why it's here.
Yeah, you've convinced me, Pete.
Thank you.
Yeah, believe me, I'd be happy to take it out. I just thought I'll put it in for discussion.
Can I ask why was settled at 900 square feet?
It's pretty standard.
Are they, it seems rather small. Would 1,000 or 1,100 square feet be the right
For an
size?
accessory dwelling, well, I think, part of what you're doing here is you're not building a two-family house. You're
Right.
building a unit that's clearly subordinate to a principal residence. So having something that's on the small side, 900 square feet also happens to be the minimum size threshold for a two-bedroom unit that counts on the subsidized housing inventory. So that's not why it's
That's the
here. but-
minimum size.
Yes, it is.
So to limit us to 900, there are some houses that are very large.
Yep.
And a garage, if you put a garage on the side of the house at 28 by 32.
Yep.
Then the second floor of that's going to take up that entire area. So I think the 40% is a fair assessment. I would say that the 900 feet might be something that we would,
Tweak.
yeah. I mean,
That's fine.
I think not to extend, not to exceed 40% regardless of what that number, and leave the 900 square feet off of
You
it.
can do that if you want. That's
Yeah,
perfectly
I would say
fine.
leave the 900 square feet off of it,
That's fine.
because things are relative.
Well, I agree, but I also think that if you get into some of these extravagant larger homes, even at 40%, you could still have a 2,000 square foot accessory
Correct.
apartment, and that's too big.
Then we,
So I think we should limit the size
Well,
also.
But maybe not in relation to the house.
You don't
then
think
we limit
anything's
it
too
to 1,100 square feet.
Everything's relative.
I think, that we can tweak.
That's
Okay,
fine.
good.
Okay.
So 1,100 square feet?
big? Yeah, we're gonna work
We'll
on
come
it.
back to it. We'll
Yeah.
come back to it. And
Well,
so.
a guideline as opposed to a rule.
Yeah, well, what's in the zoning is a rule, so, anyway,
Pirates of the Caribbean.
that's okay.
I thought you knew that.
Condensed version, keep going, move, move, move.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so if you flip the page, then on the other side, you'll see that the additional requirements, and again, this is all for a unit allowed as of right. The owners of the dwelling unit have to occupy either the house or the apartment. There'll be at least one off-street parking space for the apartment, in addition to whatever parking spaces are there for the house. The parking space shall be constructed of materials consistent with the driveway and shall have vehicular access to the driveway. And then the last provision is kind of a setback, basically a buffer strip that would protect an adjoining house from having an accessory apartment vehicle parked right up against the lot line. So, so that's what, these would be, however you end up with these standards. This first part is, if you meet all these requirements, then you would be able to do an accessory unit as of right. The accessory apartment by special permit simply says you can go to a larger unit. You have to comply with A through E above, and that you can do this in an accessory structure on the property. So it doesn't have to be inside a house. This is an exterior unit, if you will. So that was, I was trying to keep it simple.
So that, again, a lot of these, it's still gonna have to go under the auspices of square footage, which can be played with a little bit. How much of the ground becomes impervious by adding a septic structure, whether you're gonna get into the issues where we can't do that. The off-street parking is necessary, and without question, the septic system has gotta be able to handle it. So that's gonna take a fair amount of this rush on it is not gonna, it's not gonna happen.
It doesn't, yeah.
So, with those things, and again, there's a lot of thinking goes involved before you just throw one of those onto there, because you've got a 4-bedroom system now, you're gonna add another 2-bedroom to it, you even have the space for it.
Right.
And I think, but the planning board also with this last one, 17359, where the square footage of it, again, the square footage of, I think, should be left up to what's a reasonable size to match the existing building. Again, if you got a big giant house and you put a little tiny thing over the corner, and what's 1,000 square feet? If you had first floor, second floor, I think the square footage is a little bit constrictive
Okay,
for certain, that personally.
okay.
So.
I'm not saying you're gonna build a 2,500 square foot apartment for somebody, no,
Yeah.
but.
And so, those are all policy decisions, and so I was kind of sticking my neck out and saying,
Okay.
well, I think maybe this is what you'd want,
No,
but,
but I mean, yeah, in the format that you've given us is great, I think. It gives us numbers to it.
Yeah.
It's not, and now we can say up or down.
It has
Yep.
letters too.
Pardon?
It has letters too.
Letters in there, when? Let's see letters.
On C, number 2, all stairs to the second floor or higher should be enclosed with an exterior wall of a single-family dwelling. That's pretty hard to meet, especially with a
I was-
state building code,
yeah.
because